that is the beginning of the end of living through a conceptual identity.
Enjoy this wonderful talk, this time about the concept of love that we have built up through many years, not just years, centuries, I would even say it. But it's all a conceptual way of living love, of giving love a meaning, of a concept. And this talk is not about relationship, so it's really going deeper into understanding the fulfillment of love, of the different experiences of love. There are different ways, different experience ways of love, and Eckhart wonderfully explains it all. So enjoy listening.
There are what is conventionally called love, can be many different things, and there are many different levels to it. Some people call it love when they fall in love with someone, which is a needing that is partly, usually physical, emotional needing of the other, and that's called love, but that is a lower manifestation of what is love, and can easily turn into its opposite from one moment to the next, as many people have experienced, how the person that you fall in love with, you hate a few days later, a few weeks later. Suddenly love, hate are so closely related, the opposites in that kind of love. But the love for your children is a different matter. There is a strong emotional bond with your children, and it can probably, I haven't experienced a mother's love, but probably I can understand that you may get a sense of losing yourself in the other, and that is that strong emotional bond. And then there's another higher manifestation of love that may already be also part of your emotional bond, but probably a mixture of emotion plus something else. But that something else is spiritual love, and in some languages there's completely different words for different kinds of love. For example, in Greek there was eros. Eros is one kind of love, agape is another kind of love. What I'm talking about here now is agape, is the love of the other, because it comes from knowing who or what you are and recognizing yourself in the other. And that is you could call the spiritual love, and that's the direction in which you are moving. So the foundation for that is not, I would say, as it's conventionally called, loving yourself. That's a strange thing. Now, many people, quite a few, hate themselves more than they love themselves. Now, it's better, of course, to love yourself than to hate yourself. It's something that people who practice positive thinking and want to shift negative mind patterns may put notices up throughout their house with little messages to themselves, which might say, I completely accept and love myself. Well, I'm sure that's better than I completely hate myself, much better. But there's still a duality there, and it's a very strange thing. Who is loving whom? I love myself. Who are you, and who is that self that you love? People who say, I love myself, don't think about it, what that really means, and there's a little bit of a duality there. I love myself. So there must be two of me. There's the I that does the loving, and there's the myself that's being loved. Strange, really weird. As you begin to awaken spiritually, awaken to the presence, then what gradually comes to an end is having a relationship with yourself. Until that happens, people have a relationship with themselves, which is sometimes even manifests as dialogues they have in their head. One part of you talks to another part of you. You are talking to yourself. Now, you really should make an effort to do better. I know you can do better. And the other part of it is, well, I've done my best, but what else can I do than do my best? Then no, that wasn't your best. You should have done. Remember the voice of your mother, and then you hear the voice of your mother in the background. You should be doing better. Why do you mess up your whole life? You have a relationship with yourself. Very strange. It's kind of split that happens. And that's a part of a normal state of consciousness. Everybody, unless they are awakened, or at least awakening, in which case that begins to recede, but everybody else, they have a relationship with themselves, which is maybe sometimes good, sometimes bad, uneasy. They're proud of themselves, and then they're ashamed, and then they call themselves a loser, or somebody else calls them a loser, and they believe it, or all kinds of weird things, narratives, and so on. And as you awaken spiritually, what gradually comes to an end is having a relationship with yourself. So what is that replaced with? When you no longer have a relationship with yourself, you are yourself. I am. There's no longer two of you here, there's just one. And that happens when you no longer live through a narrative in your head that creates two of you, sometimes even more than two. You have a whole crowd in there sometimes. And then you have various sub-personalities that are just lurking in the background, waiting to get triggered. So when you no longer have a relationship with yourself, that is the beginning of the end of living through a conceptual identity in your head. You have a certain set of opinions about who you are, which you've adopted from what other people, society tells you who you are. Or you're reacting against what society tells you about yourself, and you adopt the completely opposite position. For example, society might tell you that you haven't achieved anything, but you believe that you haven't done anything because the world is not worthy of you. Because you could write the greatest book ever written, but what's the point? The world is crazy anyway, and can't be bothered. If I wrote a book, it would be the greatest ever. You can have all kinds of ideas about yourself, whether you adopt society's view of who you are, or you adopt a reactive position against it, it doesn't matter. When you transcend that, you just are yourself. You don't no longer live through an opinion in your head about who you are, because who you are is the presence. And that presence that you recognize in yourself as your essence, and when I talk about it, it's always a duality. It's not that you recognize the presence, it's the presence recognizes itself. You recognize. That's what arises, and then you look at the other. It might be your child. And then you have two things happening simultaneously. One is the emotional bond that you feel with people close to you, such as your children or other people that are very close to you. You feel an emotional bond, an emotional connection. But in addition, and more fundamentally, there is a recognition in you of the presence or the essence of the other, and that's not emotional. To recognize the essence of the other, but you can only recognize it through your own essence, the essence that you are. And then you look at the other and you can sense beyond the personality, they are consciousness. And you can look into their eyes, and no matter what behavior they manifest as personalities, you kind of sense something that is beyond that. And what you recognize then in the other is yourself, because it is the consciousness that you both share is the one consciousness. And to recognize the consciousness of the other as your consciousness, as one with your consciousness, that is spiritual love. And there you don't lose yourself. You have found yourself. And so you don't lose yourself in the other anymore. If there's only emotion, then you could lose yourself in the other. But the emotional bond, and then the recognition of the other as yourself happens with anyone. You have the same love for somebody you meet casually somewhere for a few minutes as to a close family member, but with a close family member you have the additional emotional bond. But the spiritual love does not single out one or two people as special. The specialness comes on the emotional level, and that's fine. So that's gradually there will be a shift. The emotion will still be there, but there's an underlying recognition of the other because you've recognized who or what you are in your essence. And there's no longer, then emotion is fine. There's no loss of self in it anymore, because you know who you are or what you are. So gradually, that dimension, because I can predict, because you're here, that gradually that dimension will come more and more into and the relationship with your children. Yeah. And it doesn't do away with the emotion, but something deeper comes in. And that transcends the emotion. Transcend doesn't mean that it excludes it or it comes to an end. Transcend means it contains it, but it is much vaster.
Yes, especially the last part was really important. If you try to reach the feeling of connectedness to all there is, not only people also, but to all, to your life, to everything. I really loved that last third of his talk, of Eckhart's talk. And what I would like to add is you can really, I want to point that out again, what he said, that you can have this feeling with every person. And it's that way that this way you will come over this feeling of loneliness and the loneliness feeling. And I was one, and I know that there are many people, I mean almost everyone went through that, and of course it's normal, because when we get born we are separate, we feel separated from the connectives, and also from our mom, and also from the whole, because we come from this whole consciousness down to a single individual. So of course we all have this in us, so that's natural. So don't feel bad or something about having this feeling. It's normal. And it's so nice that we can develop and discover during our life that we are not separated. It's an illusion to be separated. And in every connection, every person you meet, every person you pass on your way to work, to go and buy something, you can always you have always the possibility to connect. And I had this experience very strong for a few years, and I had a metaphor coming up in my head because from this movie Avatar, where the blue the blue figures there. It's a very nice movie. I really like, well, not the fighting part, but I like the whole creativity of the things in the movie. I really like that. And there they have this thing, these life forms where they take this and put it to like where they have this connecting thing where they connect to another person, and then they feel totally everything from the other person. And like that, I know that we all can feel like that. I had that feeling for a few times in my life, and then the last time, like I would say like for 2 years, very intense, and now it's a little bit less, but it's really, I know why it is, and this is good. I can always remember that and then activate it again, and that is really nice. And then you feel never lonely again, knowing that that you have this it's a feature, or it's a possibility that is in you to always connect. And I think also to reach that, you have to overcome fears, for sure. That's pass. If you stuck in fears and you don't work on them to get through, you will always have a problem with this connectivity. I had to before overcome many fears, and it can happen on one certain experience that will blow all your fears away, where you really feel this this awareness that nothing is how can I say that, well, if you feel this very strong connectivity once in your life, and that nothing really matters, nothing can harm you. It's a wrong saying. It's not that nothing matters, but nothing can really harm you. You are undestroyable. It's not possible. You can only change form and change, but you can never be destroyed. And even also your body, I mean, well, the greatest fear of all, or the root of all fears, is to die. It's a base fear, and from there on the others build up. They are just ways of fear of death. Different colors, different styles. I use the word that I know in English, but there are certainly other words to describe this. Anyhow, that's what I wanted to add, and I hope it helps you as well. And as I said, I offer every one of you a free session from my coaching experience that I have. I really love doing this.
and we will find a time. I just had a session yesterday with one of you there from my subscribers on the channel. It was really, really wonderful and nice. And I will ask her if it was a woman, yes, if she would like to maybe give a comment somewhere. I don't know how, but we will find out. And then she can tell by herself how it was. Yes, it's so much, it's so different, because you're an individual. If you just listen to something that is meant for the whole society, for everyone, or if you do something just for your individual thing, as form. So it is really worse to give it a go. Not a try, a go. It's not a try, it's a go. It's a go to you saying, okay, I want to do something like that. I've never ever done something like a coaching session. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what all this is about. Just be surprised. It's really nice. I love that, to do that with people that have never done it or never had anything to do with coaching before, or with this work. It's really wonderful. Then the impact is really big, and yeah, it will change your life. I'm 100% sure, because I stepped the same way. Yeah, I started 3 years ago wanting to open my self-employed as my online business with something I didn't know yet, and then it came out that it was an education into the direction of coaching. And then I started really taking many courses and classes and seminars, and yeah, a lot. And it's amazing. Yeah, I have a huge toolbox I have there for the whole coaching program. But what we do is only, of course, I can only use one tool for you for this session, but that's a start session that is always needed. Yeah. And you will really like it. Yeah, so take use of it, or advantage of it, or I don't know how to say it, and just contact me. Try to find me on she did also, the woman, she found me in Instagram, and then she wrote me, so you will be able to do the same. I'm sure. So yeah, now I let you go and have a wonderful day, and always remember, you are a lottery win. Mwah.